Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Wes here, aka Seahawks Prime. Welcome back to the channel. It's growing quick thanks to you, my subscribers. Anyways, let's get right into it. In this video, we're going to talk about the potential breakout stars for 22-23. There's no rookies involved in this video. That's for another time. These are just players that could break out in this upcoming season for the Seahawks due to the circumstance, or just that they're really good and going under the radar. Let's get into it. Let's go. Now, these potential breakout stars are in no particular order. These are just the players I think are going to break out next season, and I'm going to give some reasons why. You may have a difference of opinion. You may have some players you want to contribute in the comments that I'm overlooking. Let's talk about that. That's what this channel is all about. Let's start from the top here. At linebacker, Jordyn Brooks. Now, Jordyn Brooks is a known player in the NFL, but probably lesser known to like fans and, fans of other teams that are not NFC West teams or Seattle Seahawks fans. Jordyn Brooks is not Darius Leonard. He's not Fred Warner. He's not going to have these huge rangy picks or anything like that. That's not really his body type or his skill set. What he is a more traditional sideline to sideline linebacker that can really shoot the gap. And I think Jordyn Brooks, led, not led, but he was second in the NFL in tackles at 148 tackles last season. Now, what's crazy about that is he did that playing with Bobby Wagner, just a vacuum of tackles. Bobby Wagner's one of the greatest linebackers of all time. Not only is it great that Jordyn Brooks learned under him, and yes, Ken Norton Jr. We may not love Ken Norton as a defensive coordinator, but he is one of the best linebackers and linebacker coaches of all time. So Jordyn Brooks has come up in a system learning from the best, and he was really highly drafted by us, and he has really played well. 184 tackles is no slouch in a defense that doesn't necessarily permit tons of end-to-end play in our skill set. So what I think Jordyn Brooks can do next year is lead the NFL in tackles, and you may not see his gaudy interception stats like you did from a Darius Leonard type player, but what you will see is probably the best pure old school shoot the gap linebacker that can get tackles for loss, maybe force some fumbles, but he really sets the tone. He sets the tone. He's going to continue that, and he's going to be a leader. He's going to be a captain on this defense. With him and Quandre, I'm really comfortable with how they're going to be able to call sets in this new Clint Hurt defense. With the size leadership over the shell, it's going to be beautiful. Jordyn Brooks, yes, known to a lot of players, but I think he's going to be an all-pro for sure this upcoming season, and maybe grade out as a top 3 linebacker in the NFL, as he should. My next player on the list, we're going to stay on the defensive side of the ball, Daryl Taylor. Daryl Taylor is an absolute monster, guys, not only physically, but just his mindset. His confidence is extreme, and it shows on the field. He's extremely sound. Now, in this offseason, I love Daryl Taylor's press conference. He looked like he was humble, but ready to go. He looked like all of the injuries he had in the past. He came into the league off of a healed fracture in his femur or something like that, and he came back, and he played really well when he came back. But what is not seen on the stat sheet by Daryl Taylor is how hard he hits. Yes, I'm a true defense guy in football, and Daryl Taylor smacks people. It changes the game when you get hit like that. There's a couple hits in particular that you'll see that you can look at the highlights. He hit, I think Darrell Henderson for the Rams. He actually smacked him, and then he popped into the backfield and smoked somebody on the Lions last year too. But Daryl Taylor can now become like a true edge guy. When we bring in Nwosu, we bring in Mafe, Taylor can really get his his paws in the ground and kind of come off the edge like a Bosa type guy, and he is nasty. Daryl Taylor, do not let the previous sack numbers fool you. He is going to be a top 5 NFL pass rusher, in my opinion. He can do it all, and he's extremely underrated in terms of his agility and ability to the flats, and he can fall back in coverage. I love Daryl Taylor. I love the pick when it came out. This guy is an all-star, and I think he is definitely going to break out. Number 3 on the list, once again, no particular order, Rashaad Penny. Yes, Rashaad Penny has a ton of videos about him. There's a ton of different opinions of him. Sell him. He's always injured. Oh, he's one of the best. I'm going to lean onto the side that Rashaad Penny can be a top 3 back in the NFL this upcoming season. Yes, with even drafting Kenneth Walker III, Rashaad Penny can be at least what Nick Chubb could be. And, you know, Kareem Hunt and Chubb, if that is any kind of barometer of what we want to see from Penny and Walker III, let that be. Because even though, you know, Nick Chubb had Kareem Hunt taking carries, it didn't take away from it how insane his statistics were. And I think Rashaad Penny is every bit as good as Chubb. He just wasn't healthy. And there was always the crowd that was like, you know, we could have drafted Chubb, but now we're seeing what Rashaad Penny can be. If he can stay on the field, he's proven that he can just dominate the NFL. 6.29 yards per carry. That's number one in the last 10 seasons for any running back that's had over 100 carries. And I know he hasn't been on the field enough to instill a lot of confidence in people, but Rashaad Penny is a star player, a humble kid from California, and he's just a really, really good running back that can dominate, strong, super good legs. And you know what he's going to be able to do this year that is really underrated? He's going to be able to catch the ball. So there's going to be a lot of sets where, you know, they throw on early downs. Penny's going to be in there. He's going to be really open underneath, and he can really break out runs if he gets the ball in space. So Penny's definitely one of my breakout players. Now, this may seem obvious and you may have not thought about including this on the list, but Drew Lock. Why aren't we talking more about Drew Lock? You know what I mean? I did some really interesting metrics. I went back to the 2018 to 2020 seasons of Jared Goff and what he was able to do in the Waldron offense. Yes, you know, you could say just because it's the Rams shell there that of course they did great, but Waldron is instilling the same offense here with Drew Lock, who I think is a better arm talent, maybe precision passer than Jared Goff is. Goff was putting up 4,000 plus yard seasons in 28 to 30 TD seasons in that offense, which I think had less weapons. I'm just going to say what it is. Maybe they had a better O-line, but they had less weapons. I am not expecting Drew Lock to do 4,000 yards, you know, and 33 TDs, but that's not the full barometer to me. If he can control the offense and win games with easy, quick stuff, not throw a bunch of picks because it's a more simple set for Drew. I'm really excited for Drew Lock, guys, and I've been saying this and I've been beating this drum. This kid could be really good, specifically in the situation he's thrust into. No disrespect to Geno Smith, but Drew Lock could definitely surprise the entire NFL this season. And you know what? I honestly think he's going to. Now, another player that kind of goes under the radar because he's been hurt a bunch, Trey Brown. We're going to go back to defensive side of the ball. Trey Brown, cornerback, highly drafted by Seattle out of Oklahoma State. Trey is a smaller guy, and he kind of broke the mold that Seattle typically had. We were not really drafting guys that had, you know, shorter arms, shorter stature, you know, but Trey was just so good and so good at position that he decided to draft him. And he was hurt, of course, coming out like most Seattle players are. But there was a game when he came back in against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Deontay Johnson's flying around, Claypool, those guys are good players. Trey Brown came into that game and he shut it down. Like, he was top notch. He was the best corner in the league, it felt like, for that game. There was one play that they got tricky and tried to throw to Deontay Johnson in the flat. Go watch this highlight. I think it was Johnson. Trey was right there. Like, he closed space so quickly, man. He was like a black hole in that game. Trey Brown, I don't care how big he is. If Trey Brown can stay on the field, he is going to be a top NFL corner and really transform what we can do in the versatility of this defense. Now, my dream is that Tariq Woolen becomes the greatest corner of all time outside, and we can slide Trey inside and have Kobe on the other side and get back to that LOB 2.0 stuff with our safeties hawking behind us and just destroy teams. If Trey is versatile enough to move inside, watch out. This could just be nuts, but Trey Brown definitely going to break out. Let's get to offense again, Dwayne Eskridge. Now, D. Eskridge, maybe we drafted him too high. Maybe. But what can happen here is you can see players, sometimes the time off and the injuries can kind of help them just, you know, watch the game a bit more. And I think that's what we could be seeing with D. Eskridge. He was really just hurt because he got knocked out. He got knocked unconscious in the game and they wouldn't let him play because the concussion was bad. I don't see as much about, like, you know, D having these crazy nagging injuries. He's got some hammy issues, but he's insanely explosive. There was the game last year, I think it was against the Niners, where you started to see flashes, and then the game against the Lions, he was just lightning fast. Like, he was like Zeus, God of War level speed. Like, and he's strong. Like, he's small, but he's really strong. He can get around to the edges. D can run routes. He can do the Robert Woods stuff in this role, you know, get the crossing stuff done for us underneath, and then pre-snap motion, he can take away the pressure. And I love D. Eskridge. I think he's going to break out this year. I don't know a stat line for him that would be good would be kind of like 800, but a whole bunch of multi-purpose yards and, let's call it 7 to 10 TDs, but he can kind of break a game. That's what's different about D. He can just take the ball and make something happen, and I want to see that from him. Now, this is kind of an interesting one because there's a whole bunch of players in this group that I would label, and that's the tight end room for the Seattle Seahawks. Noah Fant, Will Dissly, and Colby Parkinson. Now, Will Dissly himself got a big contract from Seattle because he's one of the top 3 blockers in the league. No, he's not exciting as a vertical threat, but he's got great hands and he can make things happen in the passing game. Colby Parkinson, we drafted him out of Stanford. Huge guy, 6'7", really good vertical speed, and he's going to be a threat in the end zone. But Noah Fant, guys, Noah Fant, I've been obsessed with him since he was drafted, and the fact that he's back in Seattle with Drew Lock, to me, I think is going under the radar by the entire NFL. Noah Fant can do numbers like Travis Kelce. I swear, guys, he is going to be nuts. And if you manage to sign DK and you have him and Fant alone on the field at the same time, what is he going to do? What is he going to open up for the rest of the teams? And Waldron is a master. Look what he did with Higbee. Look what he did with all of those tight ends, Everett. Even what he was able to do with Everett here. Imagine Noah Fant with those targets, guys. I'm super excited about that. I won't get too deep into that, but man, that really gets me pumped up. Noah and that tight end room are awesome. Maybe top notch in the NFL if it all works out. Now we'll get into some dark horse guys. Let's go to the O-line. Damien Lewis. We drafted Damien Lewis super high out of LSU. Why? For good reason, because he pass blocked in one of the best sets against some of the best guys at guard, and he did that for Joe Burrow. They won a national championship, I believe, doing that. Damien Lewis has kind of been, hurt a little bit, bounced to the left side. They forced him to left guard. That's really not where he is. If we get Dame over to the right side and Lucas pans out and, Blythe is able to be better than Pochik in the middle, Damien Lewis is going to be a dominant right guard, especially with the talent we have at running back and just this offensive set. So don't sleep on Damien Lewis because I thought he was a really good player. He gave up some stuff because he was out of position, and I thought he got not bull rushed, but ran around because he's not really comfortable sliding to the left as he was to the right. So I'm excited about Dame Lewis. We got a good guard there. We don't have to trip out. Maybe move Gabe back to the left or get some competition for him in there. Dame Lewis out of LSU, awesome player. Now, this is a fan favorite, Poona Ford. Now, Poona Ford, hear me out, guys. Shelby Harris has come in. We've signed Monet, and yes, we've got Quinn Jefferson. So those guys are all kind of different players. They're more like situational, kind of rotational guys like Poona. But on base downs, I think those guys take some of the pressure off Poona, who had a great 2020. In 2021, it was kind of like, meh, he was ranked 23rd at position. But Poona is one of the best defensive tackles, 3-tech guys in the NFL. He's under the radar, and I think with a better defensive-minded set and going to this front that Desai and Clint Hurd are going to run, Poona can really just like vacuum stuff up on running downs and maybe get the occasional TFL and fumble. I don't expect Poona to like knock the doors off and become like right away the Pro Bowl because there's going to be so many guys in the rotation. But Poona Ford is an awesome player. I love his style, and I think he's going to have an exceptional year, maybe like his best season. And I'm glad he's still on the team and that they've really managed to find some gems there. Now, you guys got to tell me who your dark horses are. There's many more that I have in mind, but those are the guys I really am expecting to like do big things because of the situation that they're being thrust into this season. I hope this video wasn't too long-winded. Once again, subscribe. I'm loving what I'm doing here. The community, you can feel my passion, everybody. I'm so excited for the season. Who knows what video I'll do next? I think I'm going to get into individual players. I made a DK Metcalf, why we will sign Metcalf video that got copyrighted claimed because I had too much footage on it, but I'll do a DK appreciation video probably next. And, let's turn it up. Make sure to subscribe. Go Hawks. Peace.